Okay, cool. So we're gonna start 0, 0, 0, 0. If there's a recap, we will watch it. So if everybody presses play on 3, 1, 2, 3.
You did beautifully, Maria.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, my frenemy.
Hello, frenemy. Great job, Maria.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, this guy. Right in there with his face. Oh, by the way, I don't like Joel. I very much established that last week. I'm not a fan. Hi, Samantha. Welcome up.
Hello, everyone.
She looks really cool with blonde hair.
Is that Maisel?
Yeah. It's really funny because John mentioned like when you actually look at her when she's raising her eyebrows, you can see the wig move.
I won't be able to stop looking now.
And I just realized my episode 4 was playing.
Sherry.
No, it was on accident. I've seen it many, many times. But I'm going back to episode.
Oh, damn it, Maria. Did you start the time? Oh, no, there's no timer. The app just ended. I was like, fuck, I fucked it up. But no, it's John's fault. I'm so glad you guys reminded me that she got arrested at the end of episode 2 because I blacked that out for some reason.
My episode 3 does not want to play. It keeps on jumping to 4. This is the 5th time.
I'm mad at the universe.
I love this exchange.
Okay, can I get a timestamp? I'm finally back to.
Yep, we are at 4 minutes and 39 seconds, honey.
Oh my god, it just jumped to 4 again.
That's not normal. That's not good.
No, it's really strange. I might be a little ahead now, but I'm not risking it going anywhere else.
I'm kind of obsessed with Susie. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure that's probably
I'm
a.
at 5 minutes, 5 seconds. Is that about right?
You're actually behind us by about a minute, honey.
Are you in?
Really?
They're in the cafe talking with Lenny. Susie's all like uncool about it.
And now
She
we've
looks-
just cut to Midge's
Okay.
mother.
Okay.
We are at
This is
6
just the
minutes and
weirdest
40
thing.
seconds. If you want to stay behind to not risk it again, that's okay, honey.
I'm moving slowly. It's mom's eating her grapefruit.
Yes, that's where we're at.
Somebody said yesterday that it was like Emily with her grapefruit in the morning, and I said it was more like Richard with always having his half a grapefruit to start the day.
Yes, indeed. I wonder if she put sugar on it.
Zelda is actually one of my sister's nicknames.
That's cute.
Zelda von Feigenbusch.
Well, that wasn't vague at all. I keep forgetting that she has kids.
Sometimes I think she forgets she has kids.
Oh my god, that's a Silver Cross pram, as if that company's been around this long.
I swear my TV does not want me to watch it jump to 4.
Oh, ear infections are the worst.
Remember also somebody else who had ear infections was Lorelai during the wedding episode.
And was
Wedding Go
also
Blues,
made
they
fun of
talked
for the
about it.
size of her head as a baby.
Yup.
Is this some parallel universe where this baby turns out to be Lorelai Gilmore?
Or Emily.
Dun dun dun. Oh, this kind of concept of like, oh, like I know he left, but you know, maybe you can get him back. It's very much mother knows best.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of 50s styled thoughts that are going to grind my gears.
Don't forget to. Completely unrelated, but guess who just smelt something for the first time in like 2 weeks?
Hooray!
And it was Cheetos.
That's a great first smell. Congratulations.
I was like, oh, cheese? Are these sorts of rules still a thing? Like, that you can get seriously punished? I assume it's a reflection of the time period, but are there rules to what performers can and can't do?
It depends on where you live and what the city or state or county rules are in that area.
Yeah, and it probably also depends on what kind of place that you're in, whether they're zoned for stuff.
That's wild. Like, I think here you would probably get arrested if you stripped on stage. That probably stands. But other than that, I don't think there are any rules that I've ever known of that apply to comedy or performance in general.
As far as I know, it's not real common, at least not here in the Twin Cities. We get people who are pretty crude on stage and they don't get arrested for it. But it is possible somewhere in the United States. It's a very large country with a lot of different laws and stuff throughout the country that it could happen.
This is the level of dramatic that I aspire to.
A
Or
cabaret
soccer.
license. A
What? Sorry,
cabaret.
sorry.
The cabaret license just means they're able to sell liquor and have people dance in the premise. It has nothing to do with acting or
Oh,
comedy.
oh, oh, oh! I want to kill the judge.
There are men who are still like that too. It's really sad.
He called her little lady, and like every hair on my body stood up.
So close.
Oh God.
What was that phone actually connected to? There was no wires on the floor. Looked like it was coming
That
from anywhere on it.
that was Jason's comment yesterday when we were watching this too.
Oh, I did. Did he say it loud?
No,
Did you say it? Okay, because I just realized that for the first time. I'm like, wait a second. It's not a cordless.
he just said it to me, and I didn't say it to the whole group because people were talking about something else, and
Well, she knows what to say anyway. Oh my god, what an absolute skeeve.
What do you think of that, Lee?
I may have gotten momentarily distracted. What did I miss?
He told his secretary to tell Penny he already left when she.
Oh. I hope he falls on his face. I'm assuming that means he's like, oh, you know, this woman I left my wife for, she's not that important anymore. Am I getting the right gist?
All right, so Lenny Bruce is
Sorry,
talking.
1 second, Sherry. We are at 3109.
All right, so Lenny Bruce is talking about the word goyim, and I told him last night that the word is actually a derogatory Yiddish term. It doesn't just mean a non-Jew; it actually means cattle.
Oh, okay. I would have had no idea. Thank you for that. Between watching these two together and the kind of vibe I got off of everyone reacting when we first saw him, I feel like that's going to be a thing.
What
Well, the
a
reactions
thing.
might have been because Lenny Bruce was a real comedian back in that time. He's actually a real person that this Lenny Bruce is.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why. Interesting.
Yeah, very very well known comic who is known for being in trouble all the time.
Well, that's interesting that they took a real historical figure and put them into a show like this. The first time that I ever smoked, I was also very paranoid about coughing. I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to cough. I'm cool. I don't cough. Allegedly, by the way. If I were to say that I ever smoked, I should have said that. I am very heavily relating to Midge right now.
She's brilliant.
So I'm very much not only the rant about not wanting children, but I'm getting very strong ADHD vibes from her. Just the being distracted by pretzels and running off the stage.
I
I
just
think it's
think that
because
that's
she's
just
high.
She's got the munchies.
yeah, that's just a high thing.
Oh yeah, that's true as well. I was looking at her. I was like, hey, that's something I would do. So I completely forgot that she was high.
The famous Friars Club. The Friars Club's been around since the beginning of the 1900s. It's been since 1904.
Lee, make sure you have Diana tell you sometime what she does when she walks past the fire.
Does she flash her tits? Is that like a theme that's
No, of course she doesn't.
I was like, is it related to the show? Like, what happens?
You will just have to ask Diana.
Diana, please come up afterwards and tell me what you do. And
But she does not flash her tits, I can tell you that.
I thought maybe she was paying tribute to the show or something. Sorry, I missed. Have we met this character?
No, this is the first time.
Yeah, we haven't.
Thank you guys.
She's getting some tips.
Lee, Diana says she's on a train and can't talk right now.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that your guys' reaction was because of who he's based on. I'm getting a vibe here. Is he imagining this?
Flashback, Lee.
Oh, okay. Good lord. I was like, why is she... I am not paying enough attention today. I completely missed that part. Good lord.
She's had a few flashbacks this episode, so it's
She...
kind of like the back.
Yeah, I was thrown off because the blonde hair wasn't there anymore. I suppose I was thinking it was present. You deserve to be on a couch. Good lord. This guy.
He wants her back. He's just thinking about it, though.
Oh, he's thinking about it. He's generous.
Isn't he? Isn't he just?
I'm sure culturally, everyone would have told her to jump out.
Oh, without a doubt. That's what everyone's been saying to her up until this point, like especially her mother. Like maybe he isn't serious, maybe he wants to come back, but that's just so not the point.
Oh no, it's insane.
The fact that he leaves to go sleep on a couch and then complains that he's sleeping on a couch, I'm... Yes, tell him no.
Does she need another reason?
None whatsoever.
Yeah, get out of here. Back to the trash cans with you.
Well, I'm glad she said no, but I've got a feeling that he's gonna come back again.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. On one hand, she seems to have quickly developed a sense of herself and what she's worth. But yeah, those kind of relationships, I feel like there's usually a fumble. That's probably not the word I want to use, but there's usually something that kind of, especially in stories like this, maybe like somewhere halfway through the season or towards the end of the season, something will happen and it'll just kind of, in my opinion, it will kind of confirm that she was right to say no to him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is something there between her and Lenny, though.
100%.
Agreed.
Sherry did just point out to me, because I had completely forgotten from episode 1 that he is married. I completely forgot about
Oh
that.
my god, I missed that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's married. The wife went to go to bail him out, but she went to the one that was his favorite. Like he had a choice of which place he was going to be brought to which prison. But yeah, with her being cheated on, I don't think that there's any chance that Midge would want to be the other woman because she
No.
knows what it's like to be the wife.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, it doesn't seem in her character to be the other woman anyway. So I definitely think having just happened to her, I don't think she would go down that path. So if the tension gets expanded on, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be in later.
And just so you know, I do ship them too, but
Ooh.
I just don't think that she would do it. No, there's definitely sexual tension between
Ooh.
them.
I also messaged Erin that I want Susie and Midge to fall in love. That's also, I think, they bounce off each other so well. I think they
Yes.
would be great together.
Lee, I've been corrected by Diana in a message that I just don't know. She might flash her tits and she just never told us. When she
Dare you? We don't know what Diana does in her spare time. I'm sorry. I've been all over the place. I can't believe I've said so much nonsense today, especially when this is being recorded. I should really know better.
Oh, I'm going to go with that. I don't think she does.
Yeah, I don't think walking down East 55th she's flashing anybody, but you never know.
So when Remarcus goes back up, we're going to start a poll. Seeing as we all have opinions on this.
It's not illegal in New York to show your nipples, is it?
There we
In
go.
certain areas, it's not illegal.
Yeah, so I
There
mean,
we go.
maybe
Sherry,
the fire
just
in
walk
an
out
area
your
where
front
it's
door and
illegal.
find out.
Yes. Go on, Sherry. Go test the theory for us.
Well, no, don't. Okay, so for you guys, maybe you don't know, there was like this whole free the nipple like campaign that was going on, and I thought New York City was one of the places where it wasn't illegal.
Yeah, you would kind of assume if it's going to be anywhere, it would be New York.
So therefore, anybody could flash them if they wanted to, if that wasn't illegal. But I don't know.
There's
I'm just being.
actually a Go Topless Day in New York.
Of course there is. Of course there is. Jesus Christ.
Too bad Midge didn't use that day to do that comedy
Right?
routine that.
Oh god. Sorry guys. I'm sorry. I've my dirty mind has
I am
overtaken
so
everything.
laughing with some go search it topless laws New York
Oh
and there's
boy.
some really really funny things that'll pop up.
So this
Are
is
you
going to be our.
kidding? This is so entertaining.
Oh, well, I'm glad
Oh
you
no, I'm
guys
not
are
kidding. I'm
entertained.
completely serious.
Yes,
Well,
we're
okay,
very
so
serious people.
let's get back to what you guys actually that who hadn't watched this episode before. What did you think?
Maria, what did you think, honey?
I thought her stand up was really good. Like I was generally just impressed by like the actress, how she like manage to do the stand up, 'cause it's such a hard thing to do.
She's got great
Um,
delivery, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's like her timing's really good, and yeah, I'm not sure. This is like touching back on episode 1 that I watched, but like I'm not sure if I like her. Is that like, I know you're meant to like the protagonist, but
No,
I
that's
don't know.
fair. That's fair, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, a
Because
lot of
I
people
don't
don't like
think
Lorelai and Rory, so
Oh, I definitely don't like Rory.
oh god.
but it's also like when you think about it, Midge is like she's she might be a woman who doesn't align with what you think of as a mother or housewife or anything like that. And so maybe you don't like the way she's approaching things when her husband decides to leave her. So it'd be easy not to like her if you didn't like the way she's handling things. But or there's all I'm not a I don't hate Lorelai, but she's not my favorite character, and I have my reasons. So I can totally get why people would say that about Midge as well.
Yeah,
I think
I suppose I not that I didn't dislike Midge in the first 2 episodes, but I wasn't particularly overwhelmed with like love for her, if that makes sense. I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is a character I really enjoy. But this episode, I think I said something similar last week, that I feel like the more we get to see the real her, because so much of what we saw of her in the beginning was her tailored to her husband. So the more she kind of comes out, like that whole thing about she only became a mother because, well, that's what she's supposed to do, right? Like that's her job as a woman. She's supposed to be a mother, but she doesn't know if she should have been a mother because, it kind of fills her with fear and dread, and she doesn't really have the actual urge. And that actually is interesting to me because I think I commented as well at the start of the episode that I keep forgetting she has kids because we see them so little. They're mostly with the grandparents, right? So I think that is very intentional that she tries to have her kids as little as possible, and that's commentary that stands true today. Even not it's not quite as bad, obviously, but still, the idea, if you're a woman, you are supposed to be a mother, and maybe not everyone's supposed to be. Maybe someone's supposed to run a diner or be a comic or whatever. She made a whole list of things. So I really enjoyed watching her kind of talk about that part of herself, and it's not something we see a lot of in a lot of TV shows, and especially for the time period it's based in, I think it's a very big deal for her to be saying these things and saying, oh well, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I should have kids. Like that's a big statement at any time period. So I got to enjoy her a lot more this episode.
Yeah, well, and
yeah,
that might be why some people don't like her. She doesn't spend a lot of time with her kids.
I think like I don't want to come across as a bad person, like by saying that probably is one of the reasons why I don't like her, because I'm in complete agreement with you, Lee, and what she said about like some like you don't have to be a mother, like it's not for everyone. I completely agree, and I go through phases like, oh, I can't be bothered with that, or to, oh no, I want to. But I think it's the point where she just seems very entitled, like she's living below her parents. She sticks she just assumes that her parents are going to take care of the kids. Like if you can't take care of them, like you can't rely on other people. Either hire someone or don't have them. Like I just think she's really entitled, um, and I think that's my problem with her. It's not about her opinion of not wanting kids, because I completely understand all of her reasons for. I mean, I'd rather have 3 lipsticks in my purse right now than 2 pictures of children. But like, and I like how she put it across, because um, I don't know, like I think having kids is it's so daunting. Like it's just, yeah, and I don't know how people balance it. Like like hats off to everybody who does it. It's amazing.
She
Um,
is really entitled, Maria, though, when you think about it, when you think about the family she comes from. And last night, Diana was talking about how she was somebody who probably never had to want for anything. She was always taken care of by her parents growing up and everything she needed. And then she got married right out of school, and she was being taken care of by her husband, kind of thing. She always had somebody to rely on. She didn't have to really do a lot of that kind of how am I going to survive and live kind of stuff on her own. And now she is. So she is kind of an entitled character in that, because her family did not have, at least the family we see, they don't have a hard life compared to a lot of people. I mean, you look at, I think, I can't remember if it was Diana or somebody else, but somebody was saying you look at Susie and you look at Midge, and Susie struggles a lot more. Like when you compare the apartment she lives in to what Midge has, and her background, she probably growing up had a lot more struggles than Midge. So yeah, she's definitely entitled. And
Absolutely.
as
Uptown versus downtown. But
yeah,
even if you look at where she's just living now, she's still in the same building as her parents.
and
So,
she's living there because she talked Joel into getting that apartment with her because that's where
right.
she wanted to live, one floor below her parents, so they could be there to help. That
I
that
think
right there, yeah.
I think over time she's going to become a lot more likable, but right now I just think she's yeah, like I don't know, I just don't feel any like sympathy toward. I don't know. I'll go through like I my opinions really flip in it. Like well, this is in a pilot, so I'm sorry about talking about the pilot, but they so it went from me feeling like really, you know how she just does, like she woke up early to do her makeup and her hair and like all that, so it looks like she woke up like that,
Yeah, that
and
was
like
like
I
a
felt really
stereotype
sorry.
from that time period.
Yeah, like I was like that's heartbreaking. Like I just felt so like bad for her. And then she was like measuring herself, and I was like, I don't know. I just think there's something wrong with her a bit. Like I don't know if she's got. I don't know if she's like a bit. I don't know if OCD is a fair thing to say about, but she's OCD about herself, like her weight. If she's measuring herself every single day, that is like an addictive behavior.
That it is. I
Yeah.
think she's trying to live up to expectations of what people expect somebody like her to be like in that time period. What she should look like, how big she should be, what kind of clothes she should wear, things like that. And so this character is representing these stereotypes of the 40s, 50s, and maybe early 60s that people had of these women to be a certain way. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to diagnose her as such. But the obsessiveness about weight and stuff would likely link into an eating disorder based on like how she needs to be perfect, you know. That's like it's very much it's we can say a lot that like it is reflective of the times, but that is still something that unfortunately a lot of women have to do,
Yeah.
that they have to be so particular and they watch every inch, every calorie, whatnot. It's a rough thing to do, and I think it was presented in, oh hello Binks, hi baby. It was presented in quite a comical way. So like it is to try and make a little bit light of the situation. But yeah, but I do understand, like I like you said, she does carry a lot of privilege, the privilege to be able to kind of just hand her kids over to the grandparents whenever she wants. Like her kid is sick, her kid has an ear infection, and she's just like, oh here, take her. And that she can kind of go out, like she was saying, she's risking everything to have this comedy career.
But sit on her.
Say it again, Sherry.
But sit on her.
Yeah,
She
don't
told
forget to sit on the
her mother
baby.
to sit on her.
It was funny. That was really funny. Um, what was my point? Yeah, so like she's saying, "Oh, I'm risking everything to have this comedy career," but I don't know if she, like I know maybe her standing in society would be kind of at risk by taking that on. But in reality, like she already has the ability in place to be able to just kind of leave her kids and go downtown every night, you know? So she's not risking much in that sense. So she is very, very privileged. She's not actually at this point anyway. I know like it was a big blow last episode when she found out she doesn't actually own her home, but at this point I don't think she's going to be worrying that her kids aren't going to get food and stuff if her comedy career doesn't work out. So in that sense, she is very, very privileged.
Yay! Look, it's Flash or
Hi
Diana.
Diana.
Answer the question, Diana.
Oh, and I apologize because I'm literally on 42nd Street right now, so it might be a little loud.
Are you going past the Friars Club so you can film?
I'm gonna go past the Friars Club for you. I'll take a picture from the
Oh,
opposite side of the street.
yay!
No, I said last night that I never feel dressed enough to go, like, to walk past the Friars Club because it's so fancy and intimidating, and then I would cross the street passing it.
God.
But it is true, like, it's super fancy. Like, it's just a really, it's super fancy. It's an institution, and it's been there forever. It's still there, and like, Susie has no business being there. Anyway, I apologize for the sounds of New York City right now. But anyway, I also wanted to just
Wonderful.
I just wanted to say about, like, the measuring and her looks and all of that. I think what's really interesting is that I think a lot of eating disorders came out of this time because there was a pressure to look a certain way, but not just because it's attractive or whatever. I just thought of this, but, like, her looks are actually her lifeline, like, her mother says in the very first episode, like, you have to sort of keep it up to keep your husband, because and, like, we all know, like, if she doesn't keep her husband, she's sort of dead, like, there's no place for her. That's the whole impetus of the show, is that she's actually, like, in this dire situation because he's gone. And so I think a lot of it is she needs to keep up appearances, her own appearance, because that's how women survive in this time period, right? And you even see it in this episode with the lawyer saying, wear that, look that way. That will get us where we need to be, And so it doesn't even matter what she's doing. Her looks are always going to be incredibly important to her survival. And so I think that's also what's going on here. And sure, like, I'm sure we would diagnose it now as, like, wow, okay, she's got some sort of eating disorder, and probably her children would have eating disorders, you know what I mean? Like, later in life, in the 70s, when they grow up,
She's measuring the baby, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's all like this focus on looks, and the reason is because looks are the key to survival at this point. And so,
I think we kind of see the some of the alternative to that with Susie. Like, she keeps getting called a man because, like, she's not all
right.
dolled up. She's not like she's not very, very skinny. And she just keeps getting referred to as a man, which, is a little bit comical the way it's presented, but it shows the contrast between how Midge is treated. She's called, oh, little lady, and where's your husband, and oh, just she's being womanly with her emotions. And then there's Susie, and they're like, okay, sir, sit down. Like,
I agree with that. And, I just had, like, a little bit of a revelation. I always thought that ASP here was being reductive, right, about gender, and really kind of digging into old jokes that kind of aren't funny anymore when, with the Susie character. But I think we could also say that, like, Susie is, for lack of a better word, passing as a man. So she can actually go into spaces that Midge maybe can't, because she is on first glance passing as a man and might have a little bit more capital that way in some spaces where she's trying to make some moves and do man's, quote unquote, a man's work.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you 100%. And I think that's going to make them an excellent team. I think they already bounce off of each other so well, and for being from such different worlds, they have very similar sense of humors and understanding of each other. So going forward, I do think exactly what you said, Diana. I think it's going to be a huge asset to them that in a funny way, that they're kind of disregarding her as a woman because she's not what they expect of a woman, that they're going to be able to use that to their advantage to get into rooms that they may not be allowed into otherwise. I love these discussions. They're so fun. I love discussing this stuff with you guys.
And you also mentioned how the lawyer pointed out Midge's outfit. Well, even the judge did at the end. As she was getting ready to leave, he says, nice dress," and she's like, "I'm gonna burn it when I get
Yeah.
home." It's that whole outlook. You gotta look the part, and she does.
Yep, a woman like her, society expected her to be a certain way and to look a certain way for somebody who was at her status and all that kind of stuff. And she took that to heart, obviously, and her mother did as well. Her mother kind of drilled it into her, as Diana said, you got to keep it up, you got to do what you got to do and all that kind of stuff. And even her friend Imogen's like that. I mean, they go to the exercise class and they do their things to stay in shape, and they look a certain way all the time. You never really see them not looking good.
No, they couldn't not look. They had to keep up the appearance. I mean, even just dressing for dinner. They would come home and they would change their clothes to cook, but it wasn't like they were dressing more comfortably. They would be dressing up.
I'd hate that.
What was
Very
that,
different
Maria?
now.
Sorry.
She
I,
said she'd hate it. You and me both,
yeah.
sister.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm such a loungewear person.
I'm literally
In the
sitting here
house.
in Winnie the Pooh pajamas and a black men's t-shirt, so I don't
Yeah.
think I would have done very well for myself.
Mine are penguins today.
Aw, cute.
It's hard to say though, Lee, if you guys would do all right in that kind of situation, because you know we're in a time where, I mean, I would tell you 20 years ago I would have said leggings are not pants, but now everybody wear or trousers, as you might rather say, because pants are underwear, but now everybody wears leggings, like exercise leggings, out and about for daily tasks, to go to the grocery store, do whatever. And it's weird to me because I still don't think of them as a regular everyday streetwear, but people wear them every day, all day. And that's just a generational thing, I guess. So, like, if you were born in the 40s, 30s, or 40s, and you were live a 20 something in the 50s, you probably wouldn't be thinking it was so bad because it's what you just knew and what you expected to be. You might not have always liked it, but I don't think you would have gone out in your pajamas back then as a protest.
No, I agree, Chris. Like, if you have to do something, you just you do it. Like, you just um
You don't
I
always
don't know,
like it, but
made
you
that
still
way.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a wedding on Wednesday. On Wednesday, on Saturday. It's Wednesday today, and I've got the dress hung up staring at me, and like, if it was up to me, like, would I just sort of go more casual? Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I like when I have to dress up, I absolutely do. So I get, if I had to dress up to um cook my dinner, like, I know that I would. It's just when you're so detached from that lifestyle or that era, it just seems silly. But I know that if I had to do it at that time, I'd 100% do it.
Yeah, I think it's just what she was raised to believe was the normal thing. You don't let your husband see you without your makeup and hair done. He's always got to think you look perfect all the time, kind of thing. I think that's weird. Still, I think it's weird. But apparently, that's the stereotype of the day. I don't know how many people really did that kind of routine. I'm sure it's more comedy than reality, but I'm sure there were people who actually did do it as well.
I'm sure there's people that do it
I think we see
now
that
as well.
that trope still in movies. Like I can, off the top of my head, I can think of Bridesmaids, which is
Yes, I was about
maybe
to say
less than
that.
10 years old. And that's something that she does. She gets out of bed in the first scene of the movie to go redo her makeup and hair and then pretend to be asleep so he can find her like that. And like that's still that's still
I
definitely a thing. I'm
I'm
trying to
absolutely guilty of doing it. When I first started dating my boyfriend, like 5 years ago, I was like, I didn't bring
Maria.
makeup, but I know, no, I didn't. But so he lived about 3 hours away. So when I used to go, I used to like just pack all like my favorite clothes or like the nicest clothes and whatnot. And like now, he'll probably see me in the same thing straight all the time.
Yeah, 100%. I get that. I suppose I've never been one for like hair and makeup and stuff, but like I was still the same as that when things first start, oh, my best outfits, like whatever, and just, anything I could do to kind of look my best when a relationship starts, because, you want to look nice. Her being like, what was it, 4 or 5 years into marriage and still getting out of bed, because I suppose if she was doing that every day, how do you ever stop? Because he's going to suddenly turn over one day and you're going to look like a completely different person that he's never seen before. So you kind of have like backed yourself into a corner if you're doing it every day.
But how does he not? How does he not know that? He must know, or people they must know that they have got makeup on, surely, or their hair doesn't naturally curl that way.
I think Amy is trying to tell us that she doesn't think much of men's intelligence.
She could very well be doing that, yeah.
Speaking of men's intelligence and their ridiculousness, how dare he show up and be like, oh, you know what? I don't like that I've slept on a couch for the last week. Can I come back? How dare he? How very dare he? I am even more disgusted than I was with him in the first episode. Ugh. That's my thought. Ugh.
That's what I wanted to touch on actually about. I mean, I obviously like I did miss the episode 2, but I don't. You know how he's like having an affair with Penny, the receptionist. Like they didn't really like delve into that. Like you saw one. Well, I've seen one shot of her trying to sharpen a pencil. That
But
Oh, the
remember,
pencil.
he in this episode though he didn't take her phone call. So do you think he's still seeing her?
But I think it didn't to me. It didn't to me seem
I just
like
think out of
the
sight,
affair
out
was
of
that
mind.
serious.
He's got a different secretary, so he's not seeing her, so he's not thinking about her. And I just think that the fact that Midge asked him for the money made him think about Midge more in this episode. Also, you guys would be happy, those of you who don't like the way he responded at the end, would be happy to know that yesterday there was a lot of conversation about how Mandy, in particular, just was disgusted by the fact that his first comment was that he's been sleeping on the couch. So
Yeah,
there was
like
a lot of people
I'm
who
boo-hoo.
did
glad
not
it
like
wasn't
that.
just me.
No, it was not just you. He does
Yeah,
his
I think
own he yeah,
yeah, he
he
dug
does
his
his
own
own
grave.
hole.
He can stay there for all I
Yeah,
care.
You've made your bed, lie in it, or made your couch, lie in it.
exactly.
Don't you guys
Ex-
like how his friend thinks of him as a little pet that he never had, that he likes having him there on the couch?
It's funny.
but Imogene probably doesn't.
No, she's not thrilled. She is not thrilled.
Hey,
I
Tiffany.
like Imogen.
Welcome up, Tiff.
Hi.
What was I going to say? I think Chris, something that you said. Let me try and remember. It made something click in my head. Oh yes. So this is not me being pro Joel, but what you said about obviously like Midge called for money and that kind of put her in his mind. So that's kind of why maybe he was ignoring Penny's calls and thinking more about Midge. And this is probably, I would assume, kind of the most humanity that I've seen from him so far. Is he did say like, oh well, you're asking for money but not telling me why. For all I know, like you're sick or someone's holding a gun to your head and I'm worried. Like, so I think that probably played a very big part in why it kind of made him realize that, I couldn't just walk out of this relationship and into a new one and completely detach from my marriage. He probably thought up until this point, I like this new shiny girl, so she'll do now. That's it. I don't need to worry about anything else. But now it's probably on his mind that he's thinking, oh, I thought something happened to Midge and suddenly I am freaking out. So it's not as simple as I left and we're done. So
Yeah, well, that, and I think not having Penny sitting outside his office where he could see her and think about her, and like, I don't know. I think he's a guy who just wants things he can't have or shouldn't have
mm-hmm.
in so far,
One.
and now he doesn't have Midge now when he had her before, and now he thinks he wants her back, and Penny wants him, and now he doesn't care. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just
This guy.
he's he's just a guy who, when he failed at something in life, he just destroyed everything in his life. And we were talking about yesterday how she said no. And I know Diana talked about this after I mentioned that I thought part of the reason she said no was because, well, he left and he didn't tell her that he didn't own the apartment, that his dad owned it all, and that he didn't have any savings and all that. And then I know that Diana expanded on that a lot more with her super big brain and all of her knowledge from her master's degree and all that. It was really interesting. You should listen to the replay.
Oh, I
but
think I'll have to.
but I mean, he's just kind of like, I wouldn't take him back if I were Midge. I mean, she doesn't know what's going to happen with her, but she does have her parents who are not going to let her just fall into the depths of things and not have support, obviously. But I wouldn't take him back. I mean, he not only left her, he lied to her before he left her
Regina,
about
what's
their
the
own
word?
situation.
Basura?
No, I just wanted to come up and kind of build off Lee's point, and add that Moishe, like Joel's father, knows him, and he even said to, was it Abe, that like follow through is not his strong suit. So I think this was inevitable. We were going to see Joel come back anyways, but I think, the fact that he didn't have Penny as a secretary anymore and she got moved to the billing department, so that he doesn't get to see her every day and she's not so much on the brain anymore. And then after Midge calls him for the $200, I think that really exacerbated and really furthered the idea that, yeah, like I can't go through with this. But I mean, even if you remember the conversation that he had with Archie, the one where he calls Joel a pet, the pet that you never had, he says that Joel says that he has a plan, right? That he's not going to be on the couch anymore. He's not going to bother him for much longer. And Archie says, "Yeah, you're going to get an apartment. You're going to move out. You're going to have your name in lights." And Joel was like, "What?" He was very confused by that. And Archie says, "Yeah, you're going to be Joel Maisel, the king of comedy or whatever." And Joel, dejectedly says, like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah." So even then, like, you kind of pick up on, like, he was never going to follow through on any sort of dreams that he had for a comedy career after he, essentially failed. And his Midge kind of like overshadowed him in that regard. So the too long don't read. Follow through is not his strong suit in general, in any facet
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
he takes in life.
Like, I think, like what you said about like he wasn't going to follow through on his new comedy career that he was so eager to do. Like, even when he was doing it, he wasn't doing it. It was Midge doing it. She was like schmoozing for him and like getting things set up for him and taking kind of tally of how he was doing. And he wasn't even doing it. He was just copying other people's acts so he could kind of go through the motions. He obviously was not someone who was cut out to do it by himself, and he obviously had delusions of grandeur about himself that he was going to leave his wife and suddenly his life was going to be so much better and everything he'd ever dreamed of. And he's sleeping on a couch. He's not interested in his new girlfriend anymore. He's not doing comedy. The job isn't what he wants. There's just, yeah, it's ugh, I'm so sickened by it because I'm like, oh, he thinks he can do so much better, and he leaves and realizes, no, I had such a great thing. And I just am consistently rolling my eyes. Sarah, were you flashing your mic, honey?
Yes, I was going to say what makes him even less likable is that when he decides to come back, he doesn't say, I realize I want to be with you or anything. He says, I'm thinking of giving it another go, which just
Yes.
in itself would have been a reason for Midge to say no, because he really is full of himself.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, and it's not like we should give it another go. It's like, no, I want another go. I want to come back to this house and this life. It's nothing to do with her, just the comfort and the security and how it benefits him is what he was missing. Were there any? Sorry, Chris. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say he he definitely should have maybe said that he missed her, or made a mistake for her and everything before he said any of that other stuff. But also his kids and him,
Yes.
supporting them both, all three.
Ah, my lord. On one hand, I'm like, he definitely should have made it about her and missing her and whatnot. But then I also think about the times where someone who has left my life has come back saying they missed me, and I'm like, you miss me? Oh, get out of my face. Don't even come near me with that. So like, on one hand, yeah, he should have made it about her, but I don't think that conversation, it would have changed that conversation. I think it still would have been, no, you left. So yeah, he could have done better, but I don't think doing better would have got him anywhere.
I think he was definitely trying to pry to where she was when she got out of the taxi.
Oh yeah, he hated that she wasn't just home, like crying and by herself. He wanted to know what she's up to.
But could that have ignited him, like, wanting to say he wants to come back, or do you think he was going to say it anyway? Despite, like, if she was up there, I don't know, looking terrible, crying and stuff, would he still have said that if she hadn't just come out of a cab, clearly been somewhere?
That's interesting, actually. I think I don't know. I definitely think it would have impacted his decision. I think he went there to say that he wanted to come back, but I think it would have definitely kind of strengthened his want, I think, because he was just the way he said everything, you can tell he was picturing that she was just going to be there waiting for him. Um so, and he's not getting anything he wants. He thought leaving would be the solution to all of his issues, but he sees that, she's doing her own thing. She's living her life still. He didn't just destroy her, and yet he feels like his life has been destroyed, and even though he's the one who did everything. So I think,
Well,
go
but
ahead, Diane.
this is 1958. What she wants is completely irrelevant to everybody in this world.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. She's a woman in 1958. It doesn't matter how rich she is. It doesn't matter anything. Like, her wants are non-existent as far as everyone's concerned. You see that with, like, her parents made sure that she got married. You know what I mean? Her parents made sure that she was this object to be passed around, right? And so I think Joel, like, where else would she be but sitting home waiting for him? She shouldn't be anywhere else but sitting home waiting for him, because that's what wives do. Like, that's the whole game of marriage in 1958. It's like, you don't get married to listen to what your wife wants, right? And that's the life he's accustomed to, and that's society. That's kind of how it is. And so I think he's really taken aback that she would go anywhere alone, first of all. And, like, again, the judge is like, where's your husband? Why are you here by yourself? Like, it's just not done. She is a woman in 1958. And so I think the idea that she would say no is so preposterous to everyone except us, because we're, how many decades ahead of that thinking. And we're like, no, of course she would say no. Like, of course, good for her, like, girl power. But at the same time, like, her options are incredibly limited. Saying no means death to her. It really does mean a lot. And she says to Susie, this has to work. This is it. This is the only chance at survival for Midge Maisel, is this. So her saying no is like, yeah, like, it's kind of exciting to us, because we're like, go for it. Good girl, like, don't take him back. But what it really means in this world is a real dire circumstance, like a hugely dire circumstance. I would also say that it's funny that he doesn't mention the kids, but, like, she doesn't seem to care about them either. So I'm kind of like, like,
Yeah,
no one cares about their kids in this scenario. But, they'll be fine. They have their grandparents. So it's really about what Joel wants, because it's about what the man wants at any point in time. And what this show is doing is saying, hey, maybe women wanted something else, and maybe maybe like getting treated that way isn't fun, and let's look at what that means for women in this time period who maybe have talents outside the home. And it's a real mindfuck. Like, it really is. It's like, oh, maybe she could do this, but like, it's not like you and me where we can go out and have a job. You know what I mean? And like, actually, my mom always told me, like, and I grew up in my mom grew up in New York City. Like, when her mother at this time had children, she was not allowed to work anymore. She wasn't allowed to have a job. Many companies would not employ you if you were married as a woman, because they would worry that you would get pregnant and like have to take time off and all that stuff. Like, my grandmother had to quit her job when she got pregnant. So, you know, I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. So, you know, her saying no to him is so huge. It's like, it's bigger than we think, because she's actually taking on a life of, oh no, I might not be okay, you know?
I 100% agreed to everything that you said. One thing that stuck out for me that you said was that this is essentially like a life and death situation for her, whether or not she takes Joel back. And it brought me back to when I was watching the second episode, when she storms out of the apartment after that mess of a dinner and she goes back to the gaslight, and she makes a joke about how this shit is biblical, and she compares it to how if she were to get with Cain and then Cain leaves her for Abel because there's like 4 people on the planet or whatever. It was very interesting that she brought it back to biblical times, because if you compare biblical times to the time of 1958, rights for women and men weren't essentially that different. Um, Women a lot of the time needed men, and we saw this a lot in this episode with the way that the judge kind of talks down on her, saying, well, you know, this is important, why didn't your husband take time off for this, that, and the fourth. um Especially when you take into consideration, like in biblical times, stuff like with marriage and levirate laws and whatnot, things weren't so different, and it really was a life and death situation for women in biblical times, like it was in 1958. And it sucks, but it was the truth, unfortunately. So I very much 100% agree with everything that you had said.
Yeah, there's not really much I can add to what both of you said. I completely agree, and I think it was very well said by both of you. I do see that we have a new addition to the couch, Mandy, and I've been told before you joined that you were just as disgusted as I was, that the first thing he mentioned was that he was on the couch and he didn't like
For
it.
sure. Yeah.
The disgust that left my body when he said that, I couldn't believe that that's what he said, the first thing he said.
Like, feel sorry for me. I left you for my secretary, but she doesn't want me right now either, so.
The couch is uncomfortable, Midge. Take me back. Oh boy. I know we've talked a lot about Joel. We've talked quite a bit about Midge and Susie. Is there any other kind of like big points in the episodes, or just even little points that other people really like that they'd like to talk about?
Yes,
One thing
I
we
do
didn't.
have some.
Oh,
No, go ahead, Diane.
one thing I wanted to talk about last night, but we just kind of didn't have time. This episode, for me, like in terms of the comedy and the stand-up, the first 2 episodes, she's not doing stand-up. She's doing let me rant about my life, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's drunken and it's sort of an accident, and like it just happens to be funny. It's impulsive. And in this episode, it's not that at all. It's she's at the Village Vanguard, which like right now and back then, you don't just get up on stage at the Village Vanguard. Like, I thought that was super unrealistic what she did there, and like I kind of had a bone to pick with it, just from like a story point of view and also like a historical point of view. I was like, first of all, she's not hanging out with the black folks behind the bar. Like, that's not happening. Secondly, she's not just getting up to talk and do a whole set when she's not actually a comedian. And like I've heard like Gilmore Guys, like they did like Maisel Guys and they discussed the episodes. And actually it wasn't the two Gilmore Guys, it was one of them and a stand-up comedian, a woman named Alice Wetterland, and she is a stand-up. And so she had a lot to say about these moments in the show that are realistic or not. And it's worth listening to her talk about it, because stand-up comics like actually work super hard at their sets and they have to get booked, and it's a whole thing. It's a lot more work than this particular episode led us to believe. And I just didn't like that scene for that reason. It was like I don't buy it. And so that was just like one thing I wanted to nitpick, even though it's entertaining.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's an interesting perspective, I suppose. I don't know a lot about the kind of clubs and how they kind of operated and what the kind of societal relations would be in these places and how people kind of existed together. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting. I do take these things with a pinch of salt when we watch fictional takes on real worlds. By the way, I do find it very interesting that Lenny guy is based on a real person. That it's because is he the only person in the entire show that has been pulled from reality and put in with fiction?
John asked the exact same question, and I'll tell you what we said to
Excellent.
him, is that we will let you know if someone shows up who is real.
Okay.
Otherwise, no spoilers.
Okay, that's fair, because it's
Well-
very curious. Like, it's not kind of 50-50 with, oh, well, these people are fictional, but they exist in relation to these real people who are another big part of the show. It's just this one person. So I find
Well,
that
Lenny Bruce is
ve-
the only one that's named as the real person. There's I think it was Tiffany was pointing out yesterday that Susie's actually based off of like a real person or a combination of people, and even Midges to a certain extent. I mean, some of them are kind of inspired by real people, but Lenny Bruce was in name an actual comedian who was regularly arrested for a while for things that he would say on stage.
And also supremely influential in the stand-up comedy progression of the art form. Like he's one of the first ones. Like he basically started it with a bunch of his contemporaries. Like that wasn't really a thing before Lenny Bruce. So I guess I mean like he's intensely famous. So I always thought it was really odd that she picked Lenny Bruce as a character, because he's so famous that it would be easy to mess it up. You know what I mean? Like it would be a lot of pressure, I think. But she took it on, so like good for her. But he's definitely one of the grandfathers, godfathers, however you want to say it, of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
I was just agreeing with Diana.
Oh, well, how dare you? I find it's continuously interesting, all these things. I suppose, like, then again, I didn't know much about the show, but then maybe I didn't know much because it's probably not very popular here, because it involves a lot of cultural knowledge. And like you said, Diana, he's incredibly famous. I've never heard of him. I didn't know until today, until someone mentioned that that's a real comedian. No concept whatsoever.
Well, I think it's generational too. I mean, my parents grew up with Lenny Bruce, so you know, I think people 10 years younger than me like wouldn't know who he is, because he was dead when I, you know, like when I was born, he was already dead. So like, I think I'd have to look that up, but like, yeah, he's not a contemporary of mine, but I guess I grew up with people who like knew who he was, because it was like you know, it was there. My mother was born in 1958, so you know, like I kind of know a little of that, but also like I don't know. I was gonna say I think it was the 60s, but I also like did study. I was an English major, so like Lenny Bruce is kind of a big deal in terms of writing, and like those contemporary writers like Ginsberg, who were out and about at the same time. Like they probably crossed paths a bunch of times, Um, so yeah, but I do think it's generational. Like I wouldn't feel bad about that, because it's just of another time that he was incredibly famous.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I suppose then again, I don't know. I suppose it's slightly different, but I'm pretty sure I've heard a reference to Allen Ginsberg already in this show, and like I would know
Yes.
Allen Ginsberg, obviously. So like there are names that will jump out to me, but yeah, I suppose New York comedian, that wouldn't have been kind of my area of knowledge. So yeah, I suppose it's just interesting what I do and don't know, and I'm going to find it very interesting, I suppose, to go through the entire show, and I'll just have to be very good listener to make sure I'm catching kind of, I know like Sherry was jumping in a bit and like telling us about Yiddish and what like kind of terminology was being used, um that I would just have had no context for whatsoever. So I think it's great that I'm listening with you guys, because if I'd watched this alone, so much.
I actually have a detail to share about that, and it ties in with what Diana has been saying
Oh yes.
about the scene where when Midge goes up on stage and she introduces the band and she does sort of stand up. She says towards the end, just before she rushes off the stage, she says, well, she asks whether Lenny Bruce is boring at home and asks about his red socks. And then when he comes on stage, he says, "Oh, I'm gonna smell this rag with an airplane glue on it." And I always found it very curious because in the first scene when we're introduced to Lenny Bruce is when Joel takes Midge to see his act, and um, it's the same act he performed back then, and I just think it's very curious that they they took that up.
Oh, so the the bit that her husband did, Lenny did it in this episode.
No, not her husband. So in the very first episode, I think towards the beginning when we oh no, we lost Maria. Oh, there she is. Um hi. No, I was just saying not the performance her husband did. In the very first episode, I think it's in the first few minutes of the episode when we see flashbacks of Joel's and Midge's past. Joel takes Midge to see Lenny Bruce, and the act he performs there, that's the one. So he talks about a little boy being at home on a Saturday and um, smelling airplane glue and getting high on it. That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, that's
Oh, I hadn't noticed
interesting.
that. That's cool.
And I always wonder, since it was a flashback, so it happened before their marriage, does she remember that first time, the first act she saw by Lenny Bruce?
I bet she probably remembers seeing him, but I don't know if she'll remember what he said. But I don't know. She seems to have a good memory, so she might have.
Yeah, I just always found it very interesting that they used that same.
So was there anything else that anyone kind of had like some interesting insight into, or that they thought was a particularly interesting part of the episode?
I mean, this isn't
Actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, carry on, Mandy.
What I was gonna say had nothing to do with the episode, so you can go ahead.
What were you going to say to us, Maria?
Oh, sorry, I put my microphone on.
No worries.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. No, I was saying sorry, Mandy. What I was saying wasn't really in the episode either. I think it might be in the pilot. It's a scene that they're in the park with a friend, with the pushchairs. But like she had this outfit on, and it was kind of like it really gave me like Jackie Kennedy vibes. Like it was pink, and like tweed, and I loved it. Like I want it. That's all I wanted to say.
The fashion in this
It's
show is
very
incredible.
nice. It really is.
Well, yesterday I was saying that I had read that the costume designer wants her in pink, and it's supposed to represent that she sees the world in rose-colored glasses. So the costume designer purposely puts her in pink hue.
I love that tidbit.
I really enjoyed I'll have to kind of look back at the pilot episode to know. I'm pretty sure she did do this in the pilot, but I really enjoyed seeing her kind of dressed down to go to the comedy shows. And I'm pretty sure she did do that as well when she went with Joel. But I don't know, it's interesting because both feel like her, but she just feels a lot more relaxed when she's in those more kind of casual clothing. Um so I really enjoyed seeing her in that kind of outfit. I wouldn't particularly usually I wouldn't in most shows pay that much attention to outfits, but they're obviously very, very relevant in the show to the central messages. So I am paying more attention than I typically would, and I really did enjoy seeing her like that. And I hope as the season progresses, we see her in those kind of clothes more and more often and like in her daily wear. I don't know if she will, because she's gonna probably still try and maintain a little bit of, oh well, this is the real world that I live in where I have to wear dresses and look really pretty, and this is where I can kind of be a bit more relaxed. So I don't know when those two worlds will blur, but I would like to see that.
Me too. I love I love all the clothes, and like even the props. They just look so classy. Like I don't, if anyone's what listened to Gilmore Guys, the podcast. I don't know if Diana has, but they always in every episode they have a segment in like it's like for fashion, and it's like they basically like rip all Lorelai's and Rory's clothing of the early 2000s. But we should definitely do it with the Maisel, have a fashion segment.
I think you could probably I feel very confident in saying that, especially with the show being a few seasons in, there will be people who've made commentary about the fashion. Like I know a lot of people dedicate a lot of time in particular to kind of discussing and examining in a way that we do with kind of the character stories, but they do it more with like the accuracies of clothing during certain time periods. So I feel very confident that there has to be commentary out there specifically just on the clothing of Maisel.
I just want to interject to tell all of you that I'm in front of the Friars Club from a safe distance across the street, and there's a lot of construction on this block in traffic right now, as per usual. But I am going to post a photo for all of you.
Yay!
But that is where I'm standing right now on East 55th between Madison and Park.
It's like you're in a TV show.
Can I just say, Diana, that you have never sounded more New York than all of the hustle and bustle in your background. That's what I was gonna say earlier because I was listening to it and I was like, she really is in New York. How posh.
Right?
Don't get mugged.
Posh or just kind of like surviving. I feel like it's a game of Frogger trying to get down the street. Like, and honestly, like, I was saying this last night in the post show, but like, you know, New York was pretty empty for a while there during the pandemic, and it is fully back because I'm heavily annoyed anytime I'm in the middle of the city and trying to get places and trying to like move around people and tourists and all the stuff.
I think
It's
you guys
incredibly
started welcoming back tourists from Europe, I
Yes.
think. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's probably you've got us fuckers over there just like flooding the place.
Yeah, and like from other places too. I mean, I had a friend here from Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "Wow, okay." Like, but it's me and my cousin were walking around the other night, and we were just like getting super annoyed with people like not moving on the sidewalk or that kind of stuff, and we were like, "Man, it's really back, isn't it?" Like everything that we hated about it before is back. So it's very loud where I am right now. It's not like this where I live. I live far, far, far uptown at the top of Manhattan, so it is considerably quieter. And this is the part of the city the most people who live here avoid. But yeah, it's definitely loud today. You can hear it. Tons of people in buses and cabs and cars, and I don't know what it is. It's like Wednesday afternoon, guys. Like I don't know why it's so crowded, but it is.
Go home, everyone.
I love experiencing it by proxy. Like, I feel like I would really hate actually being in the middle of it, but I feel like I'm there because of Diana, so I will experience it through her eyes. I'll be
Absolutely.
annoyed for you.
One of these days,
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
walk through Dublin and let you guys just listen to the people trying to sell tour buses and ask for drugs.
Oh, I can do that too. I'll just walk through Times Square. We can
Yay!
compare.
Oh boy.
We'll just go on a tour of the world through Clubhouse.
Be a great thing. We'll all just get into one clubhouse room, walk around our towns, all have our mics unmuted. It'll be fucking chaos and it'll be wonderful. So I was gonna say, I think I've kind of said everything I kind of mentally kind of noted in this episode. Is there anything anyone else wanted to discuss? I think we had a really good discussion today, guys. I know sometimes in different rooms it depends. I think sometimes like one topic kind of just dominates and we never get a chance to kind of go over other stuff, which is just it's a natural way conversation happens sometimes. But I think we did a really good job today. I like that we kind of
Yeah, it was funny. I wasn't here for the watch, but when I opened up Clubhouse, I saw the room was still open. I was like, they must be getting into it. I have to go check this out.
you
I
you
told him
came in
about
at a good time.
about your passion last night,
You
Mandy.
did. Chris made sure we knew.
Yeah, I got a little passionate last night about the episode and Joel in particular.
Redemption arc, but every episode I just dislike the guy more. So I don't know. I don't see that going away. Maria, was there anything else you kind of wanted to discuss or ask anyone or say for your own perspective?
No, the only thing was I've just I mean it's kind of on topic. It's about New York. I just asked Chris on Discord if she could check what streaming service it's available on. And I don't know if anybody would be interested watching it. It's called America's New York, America's busiest city. And I watched it years and years and years ago when it first streamed on BBC. But that kind of delves into sort of like the history of New York. Like I don't know if it'll be particularly about this era of Maisel. I can't remember. I'll probably
Oh,
rewatch it.
nice.
But I can put the I can send the link on the Clubhouse chat and Discord. Like you'd have to have Discovery Plus, although it is available on Daily Motion, like one of the illegal ones. If you want to just watch it on there, but I won't post that on Discord. But yeah, I might watch it tonight. It's just I don't know. I really like New York, and like it's just a really interesting documentary. If anybody wanted to sort of see the history of it.
That's really cool, Maria. Are you gonna maybe watch it in the lounge room so others could maybe hop in with you?
I can do if anyone's interested in it. I can do it tonight, or this afternoon for you guys.
I mean, sure. If you stick it in the Discord and in the Facebook Messenger, I'm sure at least a few people would like to join it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's 3 episodes. I think there's only 3 episodes. So yeah, I'll put it in the group, and I'll probably maybe put it on about like, I don't know, 10, half 10 our time.
So that would
If
be
you want to
around 6:30, I think,
Okay.
my time with Central. I think you're 6 hours ahead of me. Right now it's 2 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock there?
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
I'll check if the Daily Motion link works first before I like send it to people. But yeah, if anyone's got Discovery Plus, I can get that set up for tonight.
Excellent. Well, I need to head out. If everyone has kind of said everything they need to do, Maria and I can close the room. But if anyone wants to stay, please say so, and I'm sure we can leave the room.
Thanks for hosting again.
Yeah, thanks for hosting again.
Of course, and thank you to Maria for joining me. It's nice to have another European and someone who hasn't seen the show as well. And hopefully, I will be joined by a few others over the next few weeks while we finish season 1. So
Thank you so much for hosting me.
thank you for hosting, Maria.
It was really
Okay,
fun.
guys,
Thank you everyone for joining as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course, you guys. We should thank you as well. That's I forgot about that part. You guys, thank you.